Thomas Henry Brackenbury was born at Goswitton, the eldest of 10 sons and 1 daughter. Like my granddad, his father, worked on the land mostly, or cleaning dikes, helping in any farm where help was needed. I can't say what all my uncles did for a living. Some joined the forces before the war, but Dad joined up in September 1939. All 10 brothers went to war, and they all came back. But land work was the main work. I never knew them to live at Goswitton. When we were small, they lived at 20. That was a small village between Spalding and Bourne. Nan was born in Swansford. When she left school, she went in service at Wigtoft. That was a big house for some big farmers round there. Although she must have lived in Wigtoft when she was small, because she used to walk from Wigtoft to Bicker School, which was about 5 miles. When she got married, I don't know where yet, I'll get to know that later, she lived with Aunt Lizzie. Nan's mum, Grandma Bell, and Aunt, that was my grandparent aunt, were sisters. Then when Aunt went to live at Brothertoft on that big farm, Nan moved in the flat roof, and that was in 1928. The same year as our Joyce was born. The flat roof was owned by farmers, J. Litherland. They lived at Donington. And they owned it for a number of years. The rent was approximately 4 shillings a week. We lived in the flat roof until 1938. So it was 10 years. There were various families came and went. There was Coles, Massons, Shaws, Spriggs. They were nearly all land workers, and they nearly all worked for Litherlands. I'll tell you how much the rent is, and tell you there was local policemen. Well, they wanted local policemen. He didn't live in Bicker. There was one at Donington, but I don't know what his name was. The doctor, he come from Donington. That was Dr. Morris. Of course, you had to pay for doctors and that then, didn't you? I can't remember a midwife. The shopkeepers, there was Martin's in the village, which was the post office, come hardware, come knitting wool, anything else you wanted. Then the Staples, they had the little shop round by the school. That was in the heart of the village, Staples' shop. Then that was next door to the blacksmiths, and then next door to that, oh, I can't remember, eventually the blacksmiths got made into a fish and chip shop, which I think is closed down today. And how many children at school? Well, there was 3 classes. There was Miss Macman, the headmaster, which I think I put in the book, Miss Richmond, and Miss Crisp. And there'd be about 30 kids in each class. It was only a very small class, just the 3 classes. And then just a small playground and the outside toilets. And all we did was reading, writing, arithmetic, and a bit of sewing, and games, and that was all. It was all done in the playground. But apart from, they had one of the farmers' grass fields just up the road for the boys to play football in. And then that was opposite the chapel. What did Grandad serve in during the war? Well, he was in the artillery, and he was in England, and then he got posted abroad to Sicily and Italy. He was at Palermo. I know that, I can remember that. And what did Nan live on? Well, Nan worked. She had a lot of land. She used to rent land off the farmers. And then we always used to weed it. What it was sown on it was carrots and onions, potatoes. We used to have to go and weed it and take it all up. And she used to have half the money and the farm used to have half. I think Nan was well off in the wartime, but she worked hard. And we all had to work on the land. Even when we were 6 and 8-year-old, we used to work on the land all school holidays. And then there's strong memories of wartime incident. Well, then bombs dropped, which was in that boot. I can't really think of anything. I don't think things were short in the wartime. We had all our own vegetables, we had our own meat, we had our own chickens. What bit of meat we bought up from Donington. who used to bike up to Donington to the butchers. What sort of foods were eating? Well, just ordinary plain puddings and Yorkshire puddings and pancakes and anything that you could make out of what you'd got. We used to have dried eggs, big biscuits, what they used to call ship biscuits. They used to be in a big red packet. They would be more like a water biscuit. I don't think there was anything else. We used to just have butchers once a week for your Sunday joint. He used to come round on a Friday night, but he used to come from Donington. There used to be one butcher's in the village, the Olbies, but we always used to go to Donington for our meat. So that was no out of the ordinary, that weren't. And I don't think we didn't have any celebrations. We used to go to Sunday school and just have one Sunday school outing. That's all we used to have. The religious holidays, well, yeah, we didn't get nothing much for Christmas because there wasn't nothing. And I can remember one year we got an Easter egg and it was horrible, pully stuff, and it was horrible. So that's the only Easter egg I can ever remember having. And the only Christmas present I can really remember getting was a book on Shakespeare and a sewing box, and it had 2 shiny buttons in, but there wasn't nothing for Christmases. You made your own rag doll if you wanted a doll. As for going into Boston, we didn't go to Boston very often at all. Well, we never had much money to spend on clothes. You didn't get many new clothes. Nan used to make all our frocks on the old sewing machine she bought for £0.50 at some sale, and she had it for years and years, and she used to make all our dresses. We was nearly all dressed alike. We was well dressed, very well dressed. We had patent shoes and white ankle socks. And Easter, we always used to have a new straw bonnet with all roses round it and new satin dresses. We was as well dressed as any of the other kids in the village. So, you know, there was not really much to talk about. We used to bike up to Donington to the picture. There used to be a picture in the Dial Hall, and we used to sit on chairs. Somebody used to run a bit of a cinema. But as for that, we didn't have much entertainment. We used to mix in with the boys and girls and play games, hopscotch, whip and top. And we used to have a cricket bat maybe. We didn't have tennis rackets or anything like that. We used to play chase just round the village, and we just used to make our own games up, and we used to go sit on the fish and chips steps. It was an old caravan, which I've put in the boot, so you don't want to know much about that. As for going to my first drink, no, we didn't have a drink in Bicker. We daren't have a drink. I would have got my head knocked off. I could just get a good idea if we used to go to the pictures on a Sunday night. When we used to go to the pictures, it was 1 and 6 to go in, and 1 and 6 my bus fare. Well, you took 3 shillings, took a lot of finding. You couldn't find that. You used to get 6pence a week, and that was for fish and chips. I can't think now, there's not much else I've not told you on what's on this paper. The local streams and rivers, well, the beck was lovely and clear, and the streams, they was pretty, and we used to go play in the grass fields, what we used to call dilings. When the aeroplane crashed, when we was playing in the dilings, there was pretty ponds all up and down, in like a golf course, like up and down, and where the rainwater had settled, and you used to be able to put your feet in them. On that day another aeroplane crashed. It was an English one, and we was playing in the Dilings then. We'd got some little old boy in his pram out the village, and then he put, well, what sort of transport was there? Well, there weren't many cars about. There was very, very few cars about. The vet from Donington, he used to have one of them really very, very big old cars, and Fred Gedney, who we used to work for, he used to have a silver one, but there wasn't many cars and very, very few lorries. So there's not much now that I can't tell you about. But I'll have to write to that address, Army address at Common Services, Bourne Avenue Hayes. There's not really else I can tell you, Howard, now. No, anyway, I'll stop this. I'll see if I can find bit more for tomorrow for you, but I'll write to you in the meantime. It'd be 20 or 30 on us in the village, I suppose. We always, if we'd got a bike, we'd go for bike rides around all the lanes, right down as far as the 40-foot bank, which must have been about 8 to 10 mile. Take a bottle of pop with us. We all used to play together. There was no particular games, I don't think. Not then. You was lucky if you had a bike.